Hey, what's up? I'm Ray Green, former executive turned nomad entrepreneur. I was managing director of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's National Small and Mid-Sized Business Unit. I was CEO of PE-backed companies and led turnarounds, all before I picked up my family and moved to a remote Mexican beach to start building online. In my community of other corporate refugees, people selling consulting services, fractional executive services, coaching services, I bring in a guest every single month. And this month, I brought in Luke Matthews, who is a former construction guy turned agency owner and ghostwriter, and by all accounts, a LinkedIn influencer, even though he does cause some trouble with the platform and gets kicked off periodically. And Luke's going to dive into how to get more efficient with your copy, how to get more effective with your content, how to get better engagement. And he takes a handful of questions at the end of this that, frankly, some of them I had myself, and the Q&A is just as good as everything else here. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Appreciate you having me on. I actually usually turn these down, so I'm not really sure why I said yes. You must have made an impact on me to actually say yes to these, but I typically don't do them. So this is fun. We'll have a good time. I've been in the game since 2016. I'm a construction guy, so spent most of my life swinging a hammer. I think like all construction guys, you get tired of it. So you either do management or you find something else to do. And I'm terrible at managing people. So I better find something else to do. So I tinkered around with online stuff, started on Instagram and managed to make that work pretty quickly, and leveraged it into an influencer marketing business, mostly photography and videography, and I was in it. So I did that until 2020, and then COVID hit and basically destroyed micro influencer work on Instagram, and I pivoted to LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, I've focused mostly on copywriting, social media management. And so the last, I guess, four and a half years now, that's been my focus. The last year, when AI exploded, I went, oh, I love this stuff again, because my strength is more creating algorithms and the nerdy stuff. I'm not great at managing people. So I tried to scale my agency and went, I don't really like managing people all day. So I'm going to be a nerd and learn AI so I can just get robots to work for me. And so I focus mostly on the AI stuff and writing with AI. And that's kind of my focus this year as well. So
you may not know this, but we share construction in common, but I'm guessing you were probably a lot better at it than I was. I was fired from 13 different trades. I did like sheet metal, I did, masonry, I did frame houses, I got fired from a sheet metal place twice. They hired me back and then they fired me the second time. Like you've got to buy like specialized tools and shit. Yeah. So like this point, I've got a collection of tools from different trades. That's cool. I walked out of Olsen Brothers Sheet Metal and I said, I don't think I'm ever going to touch a tool again. And I'm pretty close to have not touched a tool. Like my wife is the handy person around the house. So
that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Glad I pivoted. How'd you get from construction to social media? What's that transition?
Basically, my now ex was really into photography. And so she started on Instagram. And I have two big influencer cousins on Instagram. So I kind of realized really early, they started making money in like 2013, which was real early days for social media marketing. They both have like 4 and 5 million followers now, live in LA. They're basically Canadian Kardashians. So like I knew right away, like, wow, you can make money in bizarre ways online on social media. For me, I just thought it was stupid because I was a construction bro. So I made fun of them and made fun of people on social media. And then in 2016, I saw my ex starting to blow up. I was with her at the time. And they were like, oh, well, maybe I can find a way to make money on this. And so I just started posting and realized I kind of was good at the writing again, and figured it out, and basically started getting companies just to send me free clothes, free product, and just started taking off from there. So honestly, it was just kind of a game to me. I didn't really take it seriously, just played around, and I kind of kept that mentality really. Like obviously I take my job seriously, so I am good at it. I put the time in, but I also hold it loosely where it's just a massive game to me. Like, LinkedIn is still a game. We're out here, marketing is a game, and I think it allows me to spend the time that I do on the platform and not get bored, because to me it's fun. So
did you have reservations about like social media? Like you said, you're kind of like, yes. When I started, I was like, I don't know if I really want to put myself out there. Like, did you go through that transition early?
So I didn't go through that I've never really had an issue with that. I guess it's an advantage for me. I don't really care how people see me. It can be a good and a bad thing. It was more, I just didn't see the business side. I think some people, like my cousins, they saw early, like, hey, we can make money from this. To me, social media was just social. So people using Facebook or MySpace I just didn't get the point. Like, wow, like I work all day. Why would I come and hang out with people online? I don't need that. I don't, I've got my friends. Like, what's the point? I'm not going to create an Instagram and put up a photo of my garden. Like, that's stupid. So I just didn't see the business value of it. And then through my cousins, I started seeing them make a ton of money. And I was like, oh, wait, like this is going to be huge. And then that's where it more flipped the switch for me. And because I saw them getting paid through photography and putting themselves out there, it was like, oh, well, that's how you can make money on social media versus before I thought you had to do web design or coding or like actually something with your brain. Whereas to me, marketing was like, well, wait, if I can actually just hack the psychology of people, learn how to write, learn how to take pictures, I can jump to the front of the line because this is so new. You don't need a degree. You don't need experience. You just have to act fast and be willing to be seen as a fool. For me, because I kind of saw that, I was able to lean into it. And I still think that's the case now on LinkedIn. LinkedIn to me is years behind Instagram or TikTok with other platforms. It's just starting to accept that, hey, there's actually influencer marketing, there's B2B influencer marketing. People can put a picture of themselves and tell a story and still be considered a professional. Like LinkedIn frowned on that until recently. So,
because you've mentioned like the influencer marketing, do you differentiate, or how do you think about influencer marketing versus using content to sell your services, market your business? Is it one and the same, or do you differentiate?
if they're smart, every founder is essentially their own influencer now. Personal brand, if you want to use that buzzword, basically the same thing. Depending on your space, obviously some people more corporate, more professional, need to be seen a certain way, maybe more concerned with their image. I still think there's a way they can put themselves out there to be seen as an authority in their space. And I think putting your face out there builds trust faster. Like in the old days, you go to the golf club or the country club or go to the bar. To me, that's what LinkedIn is now. So if you put your face out there, you put a video out there, you're accelerating the pace that people get to know you and are willing to take that call to discuss that $1 million deal or what have you. So I think every founder, regardless of their space, should look at themselves like an influencer, or if they have the money, just pay someone to do it for them. But again, it takes a while for people to adjust and adapt to that. So
Why do you like LinkedIn right now?
I joined LinkedIn by accident. So I had a client on Instagram in 2019 that was a crypto coin, and they were like crypto fashion combo, because fashion is what I mostly did, believe it or not, on Instagram. And so they were this unique combo, and they were like, hey, Luke, you're going to do our Instagram, our Twitter, or YouTube, because I knew those platforms, but like we need you to post on the company page on LinkedIn. And I was like, LinkedIn, why would I post there? I thought it's just a resume platform. And so then I started kind of diving into it, watched some Gary Vee videos because he was ranting about LinkedIn in 2019, went to a conference, and then I was like, oh, I think, there's no one using this. Like no one I knew on Instagram or Facebook was using LinkedIn. And I went and analyzed the content. Like it was so bad. I was like, well, it'll be way easier for me to dominate here than on an Instagram or a YouTube or a Twitter. And so I just went all in 2020 and got a bit lucky with the timing. I think it was pretty early.
It's about the same time. Like I think 2018, 19 is when I started posting on LinkedIn. And it's such a different game now. I mean, there's a lot more creators. The algorithm is different. It's a little bit more competitive. Do you think it's too late to be in the game in LinkedIn with the influx of other creators and more people doing it, or no?
I think it's changed, right? I think that if we're honest, there's always a window where you're early. Like Instagram, I missed the window. It was like 2013 to 15 was like, if you joined then, you could do a shout out for shout out throwback Thursday and get like 5,000 followers. Like I saw my cousins do it. And so if I had seen the business potential of Instagram then, I would have 10 times the followers. So LinkedIn still is similar. Like honestly, 2022, 2023, like I saw people explode in growth that joined, that it's not the same now. Now, depends how you look at it. Like that's for growth, for followers, for hyper growth, but it's not too early, and that most people still don't know the value of LinkedIn, that the average user actually has money and is willing to spend compared to other platforms where people are just hanging out and wasting their time. They're not doing that on LinkedIn. People typically log in either to find a job or find a service provider or make a connection. So to me, like the value of the platform, most people on social still don't realize that. And I still think the reach is pretty good. And actually the last month it's shifted again, where it was focused on business content, I think, for the last year and a bit, partially because of that crying CEO guy, I think ruined personal story craze. But now I think it's going back to it. I've seen way more people getting pushed, just posting random content, sharing their stories again. So I think these platforms go in cycles, and I don't think it's too late. I just think you have to adjust your expectations of growth and hyper growth.
So I mean, I agree, man. Like the LinkedIn, the difference is, I mean, part of it is it's going to be where my audience is, but I just think it's like different from a platform standpoint because there's so many different levers to pull, right? Like there's you can see who viewed your profile. There's different ways to start conversations. I think people tend to be there for business, so
Yeah.
like they're getting on the platform either to sell stuff or from a business context in one way, shape, or form. I want to talk a little bit about content strategies. So I mean, you said there's some changes. You've seen some here the past few months with LinkedIn. A lot of people that I work with that may be watching this are relatively new to the content game. Like they kind of recognize the need to do it. They want to be a not necessarily a big influencer, but they recognize they leverage the personal brand, grow your audience, and you can get more clients. If you're just getting started today, like what are some things about LinkedIn that you're seeing work really well, or changes that you've seen recently that may be helpful for people that are getting started?
I'll jump into that. Before I do, I think it's kind of changing your mindset too, where I'm a ghostwriter as well. I've worked with a lot of founders that maybe struggle to see the value in the platforms. I've had a lot of these kind of conversations where I think a few years ago I tried to convince them. Now I don't. But typically the conversation is like, I think you need to look at LinkedIn like it's a part of your business and a long game instead of, oh, I'm going to get frustrated this week or this month or next month because I'm not getting the likes and comments and followers or the lead generation that I'm hoping for. But if you look at it like it's an extension of your business and it's actually a part of your job to put yourself out there, to make connections and to post content, then I think you get less frustrated and you just build it into your routine like working out at the gym. But you kind of have to see it as a part of your business, a part of your job, and see the value in it to not get frustrated and quit. Because most people, most founders, most people in communities like these eventually drop off and quit because they get frustrated that the short-term results aren't enough or the algorithm moves away from them. And then I'll get into, like you said, the tips. So the main thing is sometimes the algorithm's on your side and sometimes it moves away from you and it goes in cycles. So for example, six to 9 months ago, AI was exploding. Like people were still so obsessed about ChatGPT and all these things. And so any post that I wrote about AI would just take off. Like if I put ChatGPT in my hook, every single time it was 150,000 followers, or sorry, impressions and 1,000 followers on all those posts. Now it's nowhere near that because the algorithms kind of moved away from pushing AI content and it's personal again. And so I've realized like there's going to be some cycles that play to my strengths as a person. Maybe you're more intellectually focused or educational focused. Maybe you're more personal and you're more of a storyteller. There's going to be cycles on LinkedIn where, for 3 or 4 months, your content's going to do really, really well. And then the next 3 or 4 months, the algorithm moves away from you and you're going to struggle. And I think just understanding that it's a game helps you with that. So as far as right now, stories are working well. I don't know if it's the summer and the algorithm combo, but sharing some kind of a picture of you and telling a story about your journey as a business owner or things that you've learned through your sales content, even stuff from that you're willing to share about your life that can be lesson focused, that's helped you with your career or your side hustle, your business. Anything like that is doing much, much better than simply educational focused content. So typically talking directly about your business or how to do something better. And that's just what I've noticed the last month. I think, maybe during the summer, people's attention spans are shorter, but story-based content and learning how to tell stories is really where the value is right now. And then adding emotion to your words. I think, again, it's just looking at it like, how would I have a conversation with a friend, not have them lose their interest? If you kind of talk about your business with a friend that's not in that space for too long, they're going to space out. They really couldn't give a fuck. But if you talk to me about sports or something broader and casual, it allows you to get to know more people at scale. And then you kind of work in a different strategy to convert them. So
in terms of the algorithms, so I think it's always like this balancing act between trying to identify what's happening because we're not writing content for just go into a vacuum. So we want it to be seen. But there's also, the people that are so obsessed with the algorithm that if a post fails, it's like, oh shit, it's the algorithm's like, against
Yeah.
me. And I'm sure there's like a balancing act. How do you think about that for your own stuff and with clients?
I do my research to know kind of what works on a platform. And obviously, I'm paid for it. So I'm hyper focused on what changes day to week to month. So I want to know, okay, what kind of content's working? For example, I'm sure everyone here has probably seen infographics on LinkedIn, those Pinterest style where you have mostly the productivity hacks. Well, here's how to make your life better in 81 different ways. And there's a bunch of information on it and they go viral. Um, I know that those get pushed right now and they work really well. I'm personally not going to do it, but I know that it works and I'm aware of it. And that's my approach to the algorithm is just kind of knowing like, hey, this works. Whether I want to fully do it or not is my decision, but at least I am aware of it. And then with my post content, I detach from it. So I do the best that I can to share a good picture or write an educational post and I put it out there. As soon as I hit post, I honestly disconnect from it and I just focus on what I know works for converting followers, for converting clients and core sales. And that's how I'm able to stay in the game. Like, so, some posts for me, I have a bigger following, so some do go over 1,000 likes. Some of them lately have been like 400 likes, and there's a wide variety of it. Some impressions, honestly, have been 15,000 for me. Some have been 150,000 on a post. Now you have to ratio that to your following size. Maybe for you that's 200 impressions or 2,000 impressions, but it's the same idea where as long as you've written a good piece of content, you've putting it out there. I just disconnect from it and I do it again tomorrow because I know the way that I win is if I'm here a year from now, most of my peers will have quit. And that's what counts. So I guess you could say it's just a balancing act and knowing that it matters, but it doesn't matter.
So when you disconnect from it, you disconnect from it kind of emotionally because you don't want to ride this roller coaster. Do you go
Yes.
back and reconnect with it strategically? Like, do you go analyze your content and say, hey, this is what's working? Or is it just intuitive? Like you see what's working?
It's kind of intuitive for me, like, because I saw a question here, how do you track this? So I talk to a lot of people. I'm in like the chat of a lot of my friends' communities, and I just analyze the platform because I'm paid to be on here all day. There is stats to it, but a lot of it at this point is just intuitive, what I'm seeing in my feed, what I'm seeing work for my clients and not work. So I track my clients, my ghostwriting clients' stats a lot more carefully than mine. Honestly, for me, I don't care that much at this point. I think I'm a little callous maybe, but I just hit send and I don't even look at the impressions for my own posts unless I'm coming on a call like this and I need to prove something. I don't really look at it.
So you mentioned the content type, like the stories, personal things. I've changed over the years and I've gone back and forth between, hey, some personal stories do really well, help from like a branding standpoint. They tend to be more popular,
Yeah.
but the content that tends to get me more clients, it like doesn't get nearly as much engagement, but it's like highly
Yeah.
tactical, very like it's like a credibility boost. Like they see it and they go, oh, dude knows his shit. Like that helps. But that content doesn't get seen that much. And so it's kind of like mixing this back and forth, trying to build authority and credibility with why we're here. Because everybody here is
Yeah.
like, we're here to make money versus,
100%.
hey, this is popular. This is going to get reach and this is going to be popular. Do you have any advice like for people to try to balance that?
I think it's knowing your goals. Like if you know, like you said, some people here right now, they need a couple clients this month. So if organic content is the way that you're getting your leads and you're looking for sales calls, then you need to look at, okay, if you've been on the platform, let's say for 6 months, what kind of content sells for you? Do that a lot. If you need clients, go do that. Who cares about the followers? Like you need clients right now, go do that. But maybe you're sitting pretty where like, I'm just looking to fill my pipeline. I'm not really focused on lead gen. I don't want to do the calls. That's more been me lately. So I haven't really put out any new AI content. I've just been shit posting because it puts me out there, allows me to keep going. And I'm just trying to stay out there, right? So I think you have to know your goals, where you're at, and what you're looking to do with your presence on LinkedIn. And then, like you said, you can mix it up if you don't really have a pressing need either way. Have a nice content schedule where you have an educational post, a story post, and you kind of mix it back and forth. But typically it's a one-on-one question. I just ask people, what are you doing right now? Do you need leads? Do you need income right now? And that's not as simple as, oh, we always want more income. It's like, well, no, but could you handle, could you handle a couple more clients right now? Is it worth your time booking sales calls, or do you just need everyone to know that you're still here? So you're prepping your pipeline.
And just by being there and building audience, you still, if your profile is optimized and it's even reasonably on brand and point, like you're still going to get some organic reach and demand generation too.
Well, exactly. And that all goes to your strategy too, right? There's lots of ways to do this game. My strategy has always been more broad. I typically don't do the direct sales content. I do want the followers. I want more of them. It helps me and I can sell through that, but it's because I have my profile set up in a certain way. And I can convert through lead magnets or different things that I have on my profile. So it just depends on your strategy and the way you want to do it. Typically for people that don't want to be on the platform a lot, the better way is to accept the lower reach and to write more targeted content exactly directly speaking to your ICP. Whereas if you're someone that's younger, maybe you got more time, like, hey, I've got the time to invest a couple hours a day on LinkedIn, then I would say the opposite. Then I would say, actually, we'll go broad right now. You have the time to engage and answer these comments and add people and play the long game. But again, it's case by case, depends where you're at, how much time you have.
So if you were starting over and you didn't have the platform that you have today and the audience you have today, and you were just getting into LinkedIn and, you're selling coaching or consulting services, something like that, and you want to generate demand, would you, if you're just getting started, would you go niche? Would you just define that audience and then like tactical teaching type of content, or would you do something else?
If I was starting over in that situation and I wanted to actually convert right away, that's what I would do. And I would do video. Unfortunately, video is being pushed right now on LinkedIn. So niche videos, speaking to your ICP, I would do a lot of video content and make it very targeted. And that would be the way that I would focus. And then I would have probably a free email course, something like that. Speaking again to my ICP, and I'd try and drive people to my profile to download that free email course and then sell to them through email.
Like a 10 or 12 email course that they sign up and then deliver, dripped in each day or something.
Exactly. Yeah. I have one that I need to put out there. It's only a 7-day one, but basically it's a free version of my paid AI course where it will give people kind of the lighter preview of how to use AI in a practical way and do it for free, obviously to get them in my funnel, and hopefully they enjoy that free course enough to buy the paid version. You could do the same with, obviously, if it's a coaching community or coaching calls or whatever you have set up. It doesn't have to be selling a course. It could be selling a paid call or whatever. But I find, that kind of style for newer people on LinkedIn works better than trying to sell directly through your content. I would go speak like very targeted through video, and then try and get people on your email list and sell them there.
So if you're doing video, then how do you leverage, because I want to talk about AI, and your course is badass. So we definitely want to talk about that. But if you're looking towards video, is there any way to still leverage AI with LinkedIn, or are you just kind of SOL?
Through the copy. I mean, the copywriting still matters a ton with all video content. So I would leverage AI writing to save you time on the writing side of it. AI, there actually are avatars. I'm actually messing around with someone that does my videos where they're making a AI version of me, so I don't have to record anything. So we'll see if that works. But maybe in 6 months to a year, it'll be good enough where you can't tell. That'd be my goal, because I actually don't like video content. I really don't enjoy it at all. But I would say mostly through the writing is where you can leverage it the best right now. I think if you actually learn AI prompting at a very basic level, you can get the posts 70-80%, and then you just need to work on the editing. As you know, it is still all about the editing, but you can save a ton of time.
Well, what I've loved about what you've done here is, I think a ton of people are hiding the AI component. Like, they're using AI, but it's like they don't want to talk about it. And what you've kind of done is said, yeah, I'm using, like, I looked at even on your website, like for your ghostwriting, like one of the FAQs, like, are you using AI? And it's like, yes. And I use it for my own content. If you don't like it, like, go somewhere else. Like, this is what we're using. But most people aren't saying it. And
I know.
What do people get wrong about AI right now?
I actually want to work with people that are cutting edge. And I find if you're resistant to AI, you probably don't have the kind of brain that I want to work with, because it's taking over in all the different kind of spaces right now. So if someone's resisting using it in some way, I'm not saying using it in every way, but if you're not trying to take advantage of tech to make your business better and faster and service people and save yourself time, I don't really know what you're doing in your business. So if you're that kind of person, I don't really want to work with you, especially in copywriting, because that means you don't understand social media as well, because there's a difference between using AI and your ghostwriting and still being a lead and not. And I think it gets a bad rap because we see people doing bad AI comments on posts, or directly posting something from ChatGPT into their content. And so these people that don't understand it think all AI writing is bad. But to me, that shows me they haven't done the research, and I don't like working with those kind of people. So that's why I put it out there. It's to kind of basically narrow in, like, I know who I want to work with. It makes my life easier, and that's why I put it out there.
And I tend to agree. Like, I think if you're not finding, it's a massive source of leverage. Like, it can expedite the process. Now, if you just say, write me a post on getting clients, it's going to give you shit. But
Yes.
if you use almost like an art, like, writing the prompts, giving it good sources to use, shit like that, it's done really well. And that's like, your course was one of the reasons I reached out originally, and I pinged you and I said, dude, one, I'm not even all the way through it. Like, because what I've done is, I've, like, for each lesson, I'm applying it. Like, I'm actually,
Love that.
going into my content, and I'm, like, using AI to help me get more juice out of my own content, like going to my newsletters, turning that into stuff, going to my YouTube videos. And so I've been, like, slowly making my way through, and it's completely changed my workflow and how I'm using AI. Now, you have some monster prompts in there. They're like, like half a page, and clearly you've spent some time. But what are the mistakes people are making with AI right now that you see most common?
I think the mistakes are assuming that, like, if you spend a little bit of time learning this, then you can just type a prompt in and get a finished post, and then you're done with it. You need to edit it, and you need to understand the platform that you're using in order to edit correctly. So I've spent a lot of time on LinkedIn. I understand hook writing, good practices for formatting. So I know what I need to do after I prompt using AI. I know how to quickly adjust it, add my own tone into it, and get it to a finished result. So I think people want a shortcut. Obviously, I did too. That's why I learned AI. So I think it's balancing both, where yes, you can get way faster, but you still need to edit. You still need to understand the platform. You still have to put that human effort in. And that's what most people get wrong with AI. And then the second part is thinking that for those that understand AI, there's custom GPTs and there's platforms like Taplio or Supergrow or whatever that also can quickly write you a post. It's thinking that, well, I don't need these long prompts. I can just use a custom GPT or Taplio, and it'll get a finished post really quick. And that's, again, kind of misunderstanding AI, or it's giving it too much credit. You still need the long prompting, and the reason is the AI doesn't get targeted enough, which is what I've done with my course. Is I use actually Edge, which I know Edge is a bad browser, but I have to use it, Edge with Copilot, because it allows you to get really targeted with the content that you're borrowing or stealing from. So like you said, you can actually have a newsletter open, and you can have a prompt that directly takes from that specific post or that specific newsletter, and then you get a much more targeted result with your AI prompting. Whereas right now with GPT or even Claude, it scrapes the whole internet. So it's really hard to get personalized results unless you have a mammoth prompt or a custom GPT that's been loaded with a ton of information. So I think people misunderstand that there's still a lot of skill to the prompting, to using the different tools and getting the result you need. So writing with AI is great, but it's not as simple as just, oh, I'll just go get Taplio and type a couple of lines in and boom, I'm gonna have a finished post. Or I'll go to ChatGPT and, take Luke's prompt and put it in and I'm good to go. It takes effort. It's still like being on LinkedIn. Like, you still have to learn it and kind of find a way to enjoy it and learn how to dance with it.
Yeah, the only reason I have Edge on my computer is from your course. I'm going to put a link to that, by the way, here in the chat. And so that's what I've been using that a lot, like going into my own content and saying, hey, read this, and then using some of your prompts and saying, okay, take my own stuff, give it back to me. And I would say I block, a certain amount of hours to sit down and write content, and I'm just able to crank out more content than I was before. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not massaging it all and, tweaking things and still keeping my own idea logs, but the productivity of some of the systems and stuff that you teach in the course, I think has been like really impressive, man. Like genuinely. So I really
Thank you.
recommend you pick it up, but don't expect it to be like this is with most courses, but like don't like you're not just going to watch it and like boom, like it's like going through it piece by piece, applying it, and it'll change your workflow. You'll get more out of it. Back to if you're starting over, your primary focus is client growth. It's like I want to drive sales. I don't, if I end up being an influencer, fine, but I'm really
Yeah.
here to sell stuff. Um, one of the way that I grew initially on LinkedIn was I was on the platform a shit ton and I was engaging a ton. I had, and still to this day, I proved it just a few weeks ago. I ran a test,
Yeah.
got a list of like 200 people and went through and just invested hours just to see what would happen. And my content went up. I took some screenshots, something like 300 or 400% in terms of growth. And I'm like, damn, still works.
I know.
But I don't want to sit on the platform like 3 or 4 hours and engage all day long. Do you have any tips or advice you would give to people that don't have that much time?
Yeah, it's a tough one. So I think it is looking at it honestly and going, it works better when you have time. When you're able to put your time in and it's you behind the account, you can't beat that. So me, I don't have a family. This is all that I do. I'm going to beat you because I'm just going to be on the platform more. So again, it's knowing that, okay, I don't want to be an influencer. I'm not trying to get brand deals. I'm not trying to grow fast. So I just have to accept that, like, I got to disconnect from that dopamine if I'm not going to put the time in or hire someone. Yes, you can go hire someone to be you and be a VA. Again, I'd argue it's still not going to work as well. But you can do that. If you don't want to do that, just accept it. Acceptance is the first start. Now, the second part is you can sell. So it is going, okay, maybe I can't put all those hours in. Maybe I have 45 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes per day. You still need that because you have to connect with potential buyers after you post. So the biggest thing when I talk to people is, again, knowing why you're here. And if we know why you're here, then you can accept, like, the pros to having more time and the cons to not having the time. And then again, it's just writing that targeted content. So if I was here to make money and make sales, like I said, I would try and invest in video because it just puts your face out there faster. If you can't do that, try and put pictures of you out there faster while writing to your target audience. And that's how I would sell, like, from day one. But again, it still takes some time. So
It's like this double-edged sword because you can use the engagement to get traction and get the flywheel moving. Then the business starts to actually grow. Clients start coming in. You've got the delivery side of it. So trying to keep that going while you now have the actual work, and it gets to be a bit of a juggling act.
But I guess it's what we signed up for, right? If you look at it, like, so many people would love to make money on the internet without having to pay for ads. So if you're making money posting on a free platform and filling your bank and working from wherever you want, I think it's a small price to pay in order to get that kind of lifestyle, because I think a ton of people would want that if they could have it. So,
and that's an option too. Like once you get going and you have cash coming in the door, then you can look at, ghostwriting services to accelerate content production. You can go to paid ads to like get back your time and not have to necessarily engage. It's just trying to find the right source of leverage at the right time.
Exactly. Well, that's something new to LinkedIn, actually. There's the last couple months, they've introduced personal branding ads. So for your personal posts, you actually can run ads off it, whereas before it was focused more on company pages. So it's something I've been playing around with my course, is putting a couple $100 on a really targeted post to see if I can convert or sell through that. So whenever I do it, I typically make a couple sales, so it offsets what I've done. I actually have an ad friend, so I've kind of been picking his brain on how to tweak it and make it better. But for me, it's been working pretty well. I think it's because not a lot of people are testing it or doing it yet.
Did you have to set up an ad account through your company page to do it?
Yep. Yeah. So you do need a company page. Basically, the company page boosts the personal page.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good source of leverage too. You cool with doing some headed into Q&A?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's dive into Q&A. So Jamie, hopefully you've been tracking some of this. Do you want to help me navigate who's up first and where we go? There we go. We've got a few.
So exactly. So we've got a few. The first one I want to ask is from Nicholas, who's actually had to hop off. But it was our first question, and it's a great question. Which is, Nicholas is up to about 10,000 followers, and he's down about 70% in reach and engagement, and suspects it's to do with the algorithm. His question is, Is it because of the algorithm, do you think? And how are you managing those shifts and changes?
It's a great question. And Nicholas is gone, unfortunately. I would have loved to ask him a couple questions. See, this is the thing. If you're going to be on these calls, you got to find a way to stick around and get that
Right.
personalized advice. I can answer generically, but it is kind of dependent on the content you've seen. As on the platform as a whole, the last 2 months, the engagement has been down. Like I said, for me, I used to always get around 1,000 likes and 70,000 plus impressions in every post. Sometimes now I'm seeing like -50%, -40% on some of my posts just based on the type of post that I'm sharing. So because the algorithm shifted away from, I'm just going to guess for Nicholas, it shifted away from educational content in the last month. I would imagine he's probably focused on that kind of content. It worked really, really well for about 6 to 9 months, where that was more tutorial focused. So whether that be carousels or tutorial videos, or text only posts or Twitter screenshots with a lesson, that kind of content was really crushing, and stories were not working very well. It was actually something that LinkedIn let us know in 2023. It was after that crying CEO. For those that don't know, some CEO posted a selfie of himself crying. It went mega viral. Bunch of people got upset about it, and I think they changed the algorithm because of that. They wouldn't admit that, so it went super educational for like a year and a half. And I think they realized they were losing Gen Z. And so now they're trying to be hip and cool, and they dropped the games feature and all this weird stuff. So all that to say, Nicholas, you probably need to share more stories without really knowing specifics. And yes, the algorithm did heavily change in the last month, and a lot of people are seeing less reach. Like clients, people that I talk to, it's just part of the game. So it's accepting that like LinkedIn's a game, the algorithm's changed. If your content's dropped, it's just taking a look at it and trying to see who in your space is doing well. There's got to be someone in your space, Nicholas, that is crushing it, that is getting good reach on their content. You probably just need to invest a little time in investigating and seeing who's winning, and figure out how you can kind of replicate that.
Yeah, you're just talking about a lot of trends, and thanks for being here, by the way. It's really informative. You're talking about all these trends, and you kind of mentioned it that you're just on the platform a lot and working with clients, so you see like what's working, what's not. But for someone like myself who's not on the platform that much and doesn't have LinkedIn clients specifically, is there a way, like a newsletter, group, whatever, to be watching trends on what the algorithm's liking, and so we can tailor our content for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say it's probably finding like a creator that you trust either in your niche or your space, or like a generic one like me that you're like, oh, this guy seems trustworthy, and like subscribing to a newsletter. I do share it in my newsletter when I'm seeing updates. So if that's helpful, it's a free newsletter. I can share that at the end of the call. You can subscribe to that. That's how I do it. And typically it is like, hey, I don't know exactly what your space is or your niche, but it's trying to find someone that you trust in that space that kind of gives free updates, and subscribing to their newsletter is typically what I do.
Like one of the things I'm always cautious about is comparing the results that I'm getting with like a mega creator. Like if you go to like your account or a Justin Walsh account or something, like if I trying to compare a lot of times isn't necessarily apples and apples. Do you try to find people in the same like audience size, same niche to analyze too?
I do both. So it's knowing like, hey, yeah, you got the Welsh style, or even I guess I'm in that category where it's more of a broader audience. It's a lot of top of funnel content, accepting like don't compare your stats to mine, but know that, yeah, I'm on top of it. So I kind of know where the platform's going. So it's worth paying attention to. It's not worth comparing your stats to. But then you also need the person in your own space, where if it's cybersecurity, for example, is there someone in the cybersecurity space that you follow that's creating good content that you can kind of pay attention to, so you know what they're doing, and you can kind of compare to them. Like that would be a more accurate measuring point, and that goes the same for any niche. So I do both. I pay attention to the bigger creators. I never compare my numbers to it, just what they're doing. But I would go to someone in your space that you respect, you like the way they're sharing their content or what they do with their business. And then you can do more of a direct comparison with them that may be more fair to your audience size, your engagement size.
You mentioned about plugging in a mini course as a lead magnet. I was curious if you're sending them to a school community mighty network, or if you're just sending it out like throughout like 14 days through email specifically.
It's a good question, Brian. So I actually just finished working with someone to create the course, so I haven't put it out there yet. I'm using Go High Level for my course. So basically, I would set up the sequence on Go High Level as a funnel, and then for me, I'm going to be selling my paid AI course at the end. I'm not selling a community or calls at the moment. So for me, it's funneling to that paid course. But obviously, depending on the platform that you're using, it could be done on School, could be done on Beehive or ConvertKit or any of these tools. And then I think it can funnel to whatever you want it to be, really. For me, it's going to be my paid course.
Are you delivering the videos through email though, or are they going somewhere else to see those?
So mine's not video. So mine is written. So it would be through email. If I had video, I would still deliver it through the emails with a link.
In some of our training, Brian, there's a lesson in there that Mike Rome did that with his launch. And I think it was like a 12 or 14 email course. But just the announcement of it, his post actually went viral. And
nice.
I think it's a more compelling. He did it twice. Like he actually engineered it 2 different launches, and they went viral. But
wow,
I think it's a more compelling ask when you say, "Give me your email for like an email course," as opposed to just join my newsletter. Because I think people are so flooded with different newsletters right now that, if you have like it's a good lead magnet. I'm giving more value than get my email update every week.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a free email course as well. It could be a cheat sheet or a one pager, or it can be like a shorter form piece of content. Obviously, an email course takes a decent amount of work to do, but I've done lead magnets for a long time that are similar idea, more just cheat sheets or like a video tutorial of me walking through something. And the tool I use for that is Distribute. It's a cool AI kind of like it's a bit of a Notion mix with like a landing page tool, and you can actually create videos in it. So it's a weird combo of like Loom and like a newsletter and different things. But I use that to create landing pages super fast. And then you can gate it so people sign up to see the landing page, and then you can just have a video or an infographic or a cheat sheet or whatever you want on it. It's a cool tool.
Brian, did you have another question about video length on LinkedIn, like the content?
Yeah, if you guys are saying that if there's a typical length you see perform better.
So right now there's a new video feed on LinkedIn, which is like TikTok, Instagram style. So vertical Instagram story size. I think that's 9:16. So if it were me, I would create in that length because you have a chance of getting on that video feed and getting extra reach. I wouldn't do horizontal. That's what I would do. Sometimes I do 4:5 as well, which is Instagram portrait size, which is the size you should use for all of your photos. Sometimes I do video in that size because it properly fills like the screen up. Whereas when you do the 9:16 TikTok or Instagram story, it like on the edge of it cuts it off. So it's kind of either of those works. It's kind of weighing and testing it for yourself.
How do you not get overwhelmed by the number of tools that are out there, and how do you pick the right ones?
Well, I'm a nerd, so I love every single new AI tool. I dive into it and I obsess over it. I think how I choose, again, it's knowing my goals and what I actually need. So I kind of can recommend basic tool stacks. For writing, Supergrow is the easiest one I use. It's fairly affordable as well. It also gives you analytics and LinkedIn scheduling, and it does everything you need for LinkedIn, really. So that's my favorite one. It's cheaper than Taplio. I think Taplio is overpriced, and I don't really like it that much. So I say use Supergrow, save yourself some money. And then depending on the other stuff, it depends what you need to do. Are you a creator or are you just a business owner trying to get leads on LinkedIn? If you're a creator, you need a lot more tools, like a Beehive or ConvertKit for landing pages and newsletters. If you're not, you just want something functional, then you don't need to spend as much on your tools. Even with AI, like you don't need to pay for ChatGPT Premium anymore. The free version is plenty good enough, gives you access to the latest tech as well. Copilot also is free. So I think you can get away with mostly free tools. It, again, just depends on your goals. So as far as not getting overwhelmed, I can't really help you there because there's a ton of tools, but just know you don't really need to pay for many to win on LinkedIn.
There are people who want to get clients today, and there's people who want to get clients in the long run. If you want to get clients today and you're doing outbound, you're messaging people on the platform, you're connecting with people with an eye of having a conversation. Is there any kind of content you recommend posting to optimize your chances of getting a response, getting on a call, making a sale?
It's a good question. So I'll clarify it with it that what has worked the best for me has been not trying to sell. I've always done it through the long game and just being on the platform a lot, connecting with people, and having my profile basically be a funnel to convert and get calls. So that's always worked the best for me. I'm more of an inbound long game marketer. For clients, what I've seen work, so I can speak to that. Again, it's focusing on the value-based content and then being very fast in your DMs. So I think people lose lead generation when they take too long to accept new connection requests, send messages, even with new comments. Let's say you did a post and you get 30 likes and 10 comments. How quickly are you responding to them, saying hello, and like not in a desperate way, but just in a way of like, I'm on top of this game. Like I've got my time block for I just posted. Am I even noticing when new people like my post? You know, I notice, like I'm obsessive. I notice when someone new is in my comment section. I know when I've not seen them before. And if they're in my space, mine would be AI. I want to have a conversation with them. So I'll go right away to their profile. I'll leave a comment, and sometimes I'll send a connection request. So I think speed would be the biggest thing for you. It's just noticing, no matter where you're at, if you're wanting clients, then you need to know your space. You need to know who the new commenters are. You need to know who's liking your post. And if they're new, just connect with them, just have more conversations. Like at the simplest level, that's what you need to do.
I think I was talking to you about this earlier. I had it really systematized. I mean, we had like, the comments, the engagement, like all of it. But then I kind of lost touch, with who are the new people and like, what are people saying? And I found that there is value in being like knowing your space. So I would just caution people about over systematizing or over engineering and getting yourself out of it, because being in touch with your audience has value. I don't know if you've tried any of that, Luke.
I completely agree. And I think for my clients, it's where I notice the ones that win, still, even though they've hired me and they've paid me to take care of everything, they're still in their DMs around posting time, because I don't do the DMs for them. So they're there when someone reaches out and they'll have a conversation. I think it's remembering, even if you're outsourcing, you're still the face of your business. It's still up to you to know your space and have conversations with people, especially if you're starting out. If you're starting out, you have to be there. You have to know when someone's new. And even if that's 10 likes a post and 3 comments, you still need to be there. Like, know who the new people are. That's where you'll convert as well. Now, actually, the skill set to convert in the DMs, I think that's more of a sales skill. I don't know how to teach that. I'm not a sales trainer. But just being more present will help you.
We teach that. We're pretty good.
There you go. And then you know the deal. So
if somebody wants to work with you, what's that process like, or how do they do that?
So I've got a few ways. So the easiest way is my AI course. So if you're interested in writing with AI, I do have the course. It's $397. It comes with 3 coaching calls with the kind of like this style community where I review your AI posts and answer questions. If you want something deeper than that, I do coaching calls basically to help you get dialed in on your LinkedIn, more of a personalized approach. Like I'm saying, a lot of this stuff is personal, dependent on your goals. So I do that, and I still do ghostwriting, but I have a waiting list right now. So if you need ghostwriting help, I'm a little bit more picky with that. I don't really work with a lot of people, but you can message me and I can help you with that too.
Dylan, you want to expand on your question, the social is dumb quote?
Yeah, what you said at the very start of the conversation, Luke, really resonated with me. Is I've done like 2 months really hard into social, then don't do anything for 2 months because I just inherently kind of don't like it.
Yep.
And what I've realized lately, just listening to guys, like Hormozy or Dan Martell or any of them, it's a weapon they use to grow massively. So I'm starting to accept that, but I'd love to know, like, that mindset shift sounded like you went through. Was there anything that just like kicked you in the ass and you're like, oh my God, I just got to do this and get over it? Because that's where I'm at right now. And I just got to push myself over the cliff a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. I love the honesty of that. I'll tell you, the last month, I've been bored out of my fucking mind on LinkedIn. Like, if you go look at my content, I've been so bored. I've been writing one-liner troll posts. I saw your post today or yesterday was a total shit post. I liked it. Yeah, because I know, like, like I'm day in, day out. I spend hours a day on this thing, and sometimes I get bored, but I know for me, I have to find a way to make it fun and hack my own brain. So I think going way back to when I saw my cousins blowing up on Instagram, I was like, what? To me, it was just dumb. Like, why would you put a picture of yourself on the internet and share some vulnerable story? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, if you actually disconnect from what like I do, it's completely ridiculous. Like, I'm telling some story about my life to get you to care about me to buy my stuff. Like, that's what everyone's doing. It's actually dumb. But when you know, like, it also works though. Like, it actually, unfortunately and fortunately, it works. So for me, I just went, okay, do I want to swing a hammer the rest of my life? No. Am I smart enough to go spend 6 years in school to, you know, be a data engineer? Probably, but I don't really want to listen to people, so I'm not going to do that. So what is my option? I'm good at the psychology of people and writing, and so I just have to accept it. And part of that means I need to know how the platforms work, how humans work, and I just got to treat it like the gym. So I treat LinkedIn like the gym. I have to show up every day. I have to put the work in, and then I try and make it fun. So within that, for me, sometimes that's shit posting. Sometimes that's finding people that I enjoy and commenting on them. So I'm a little weird in that my feed is a wide range of people that I'll never work with, but I enjoy seeing their posts. And so I know if I kind of enjoy what I see in my feed, I'm more likely to log in and leave a comment and keep investing and trying. And so I don't really force the I'm trying to sell, I'm trying to sell, I'm trying to sell. For me, it's more I know if I'm here in 2027 and you're not, then I'm going to beat you. And so I'm looking like long game, and that's why I'm not really focused on selling. I just know that if I can hack my brain to show up and I'm still here in 2 years, most of my competitors will have given up, because that's what I've seen since 2020. There's like a couple guys that have lasted. Nat Berman, some people might know, is one of, there's not many people that stuck around since 2020. Because this stuff's stupid and it's hard to stay into. So you just have to accept it and laugh about it and hack yourself, I think, to stay in the game. Not very practical advice, man, but
no, it is. I like the gym specifically of just like, I don't feel like it, but I'm just gonna go and do it. And that post you put on whatever the last couple of days really, like, I think clicked for me. It was like, not every post has to be so perfect for my ICP that I have to knock it out of the park. I can just throw some shit posts and move on. That at least I'm there, right?
Yeah, because really think about it, it's like if you have one or two good conversations a day on LinkedIn, then you are winning. Because if you do that every single day for a year, you're going to convert from it. So I know like some days I'm not at my best, but if I put something funny out there, for me, I've built an audience like that, people connect with it, then I've still shown up. I've still had some conversations. And that's good enough. Tomorrow I might go the opposite and be really nerdy and write a targeted post about AI. But I know if I just show up, then I'm gonna win eventually.
I don't know if it helps, Dylan, but like yesterday, my post was about selfies. Like I hate selfies. I can't stand taking pictures. And I said it. Like I said, I fucking hate taking selfies, but I hate having a job more. I hate having a boss more. I hate like I'll take the pain of taking a picture of myself, like, and go and find like take it, Angelo, post it, over the other pain, which is the pain of not having money, the pain of content not getting seen, the pain of having to get a job. Like if that's what I need to do, like I don't make the rules of the game. Like I just like I either choose to play or I don't.
Well, that's the thing, man. It's like it's an ego thing too, I think. Like something as well. Like we all have egos. And sometimes it hurts to put a picture out there with a silly story and like, oh, this kind of hurts my ego. But that's also kind of why I do it. For me, I got ridiculed by my construction buddies for like 4 years because I was on Instagram. Like it was way worse than now. Like I was basically modeling on Instagram to get work. So I got ripped apart when I went to the job site. But I knew like, hey, I started making more money on Instagram at night than I did swinging a hammer during the day. And so I just started shit talking back, and I think a lot of this is an ego thing, and it's accepting like these platforms are built a certain way. And if this is working, you don't have to sell out, but just know that like these formats work for a reason. And so how can I like fit my business or my efforts into a format that's working and still make it my own so I don't completely hate it?
Well, you said something too earlier, Luke, about you don't have to choose to placate the algorithm if you don't want. Like you can recognize that this is more popular. I just don't want to. Like that's one thing I'm not going to do. And you can make those choices too.
Yeah, like I don't post infographics. So a lot of bigger creators post those infographics with generic life advice and productivity hacks, and they work. A lot of people like those. It's very top of funnel. I don't do it. I could grow faster. Not really my thing, you know. So like you said, we get to pick and choose because most of us are kind of running our own thing, which I think is awesome. And it's just acceptance, isn't it? It's like this works, but you don't have to do it. You don't have to post pictures of yourself. But it does help. So
Rahul, you had a question about AI, about GPT. Do you want to read your question?
Yes. Hi, Luke. Thanks for joining with us today.
You're welcome.
So this is a nerd-to-nerd question. So I love playing around with GPT and things like that. I do quite a lot of tech stuff.
Nice.
So I was wondering, is it a good idea? And is it the right time to invest in creating your own GPT to create a content machine for yourself so that in the long term, I get a lot of free time for myself?
I would say, yeah. I mean, if you enjoy custom GPTs and playing around with this stuff and you can fine tune it, I would totally do it. I'm going to be, Copilot also has custom GPTs. So like I'm trying to figure out how to make something like that for like my next upgrade for the course. I just enjoy it. So I would say you have an advantage if you enjoy it. And if you can train it to be in your own voice, then yeah, I would say go for it for sure.
So the strategy that I have is in phase one, I write a lot of content that is very much targeted to my entire pipeline and where I want to take them. So, and then slowly train it up to think that way. So I'm guessing I'm looking at a lead time of around 6 to 8 months when I do this, and in 8 months' time, I might be sitting on something nice.
That would be tough though, because imagine where AI will be in 6 to 8 months. So don't be too much of a perfectionist that it takes too long, because like look at even the last couple months, like the ChatGPT brought out 4.0, and it changes so fast in AI. So I would be careful about needing it to be too perfect. I would say just nerd out, get it done, and then know in a couple months you're going to have to do it again. It's the tech's too good, man.
So I was about LinkedIn posting, through text, and then also how do you integrate video with that? I'm sure you have thoughts on that high level response. How do you integrate all that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'd say it depends on budget. So if you outsource video, obviously it's the easiest versus having to figure it out for yourself. If you don't want to outsource video, there are AI tools. Opus Clip is a really good tool. So for example, if you already are doing coaching calls or just calls with other business owners or whatever, you can record those calls and then use a tool like Opus Clip, which uses AI to just cut it up automatically for you and add subtitles to it. I like Opus Clip. It's something that I use with my webinars or calls that I do. Probably the easiest way to leverage quick video as opposed to having to write a script, come up with an idea and do your own thing would just be using like an Otter AI or any transcription tool to just follow you around to calls and then get the recordings and use something like Opus Clip to cut it up into short form video.
That was one of the huge takeaways with your course, Luke, was just looking around at all the content you're already creating and just finding better ways to leverage it, like using AI to get more out of a coaching call or a conversation. Like I can go to coaching calls and say, what are the questions being asked? And I can tie AI into that. And, I've got an unlimited, like it's an infinite amount of content to create now. So I've gone from focusing on creation to what are all the different ways I can repurpose this. And if I just transfer that energy, shit gets a lot easier, man.
Well, that's the great thing too, is I'm sure there's one prompt I have that actually can also write the post based off of a call that you've had. So there's a tool that I recommend called Fireflies. It's basically the best free tier for AI transcription tools. And so I wrote a prompt based off of that. But you're right. It's like, it's really looking at how do I save time with this stuff? Because like we're all just trying to make more money and not spend all day. Well, I am, but most of us are trying not to spend all day on social. So if you can use AI to save yourself time with like I told Raphael, like with video, and then with writing, then it's why not already leverage things that you're doing like calls and webinars and whatever you're doing. So
I heard it come about some time ago, and I thought I didn't really know what shitposting was, so I had to search it again just to see if I knew. And it did mention about it being sort of contrarian, but I guess it's short. And that's why I just threw that out there, because I guess, like I'm seeing the way you explained it, it's just kind of something that's, it goes against the grain a little bit. I don't know. Maybe you can expand on it, because I think it's just something that stirs the pot a little bit, right? But I don't know. Expand on it.
The good point. I assume everyone knows that, but that's so it can be a few things. It could even be a meme. Like it could be a meme about your industry or your space that you add just a quick thought to. So typically it's like it's content that's not necessarily giving value in the traditional way. So I'm not really speaking exactly to my audience and trying to give them a solution essentially, or I'm not trying to talk about my business or make your life better. I'm just kind of sharing something because I either A, thinks it's funny, or like you said, B, it's contrarian, or I'm trying to push people's buttons. So like I said, that could be through a meme, it could be a GIF, could be a one-liner, could be like a sarcastic comment about your industry or your space, but that's typically what it is. It's just going like, I don't feel like giving my audience anything worthwhile today, so we're just throwing whatever I want out there.
That was the other angle I was forgetting too. That I guess you did raise that, so I didn't want to ask it, but it was that part that it's just you're just going down the offside a little bit, and nothing direct to your target audience at all. Just more personal, more personal, and maybe a bit edgy.
Yeah, exactly. More personal, a bit edgy. It's not for everybody. For me, because I've done it for a long time, my audience kind of enjoys it or expects it. So I still manage to sell through it, again, because I've set my profile up like a landing page. So if I say something funny that gives you nothing at all, be like, oh, that guy's kind of interesting. You might still go to my profile and go, what is Luke Matthews about? And if I've actually set it up correctly, then I might still get a chance of having a conversation with you or converting. Now that's definitely not for everybody. For me, it works. For some people, it works, but it's not for everybody.
So being a little smart sometimes and being funny can work, but you're playing with fire sometimes, and sometimes not.
Yeah, it depends on the personal brand, I guess, that you're building, the business that you have, the kind of reputation that you're okay with, being on social media or online. Like everyone's a bit different. Clients that want to be seen, only like as a thought leader and be taken seriously. They don't want any kind of memes or, shit posting, I guess. Yeah. Some people are okay with some of that because they want to be personal and get to know people. And so they're fine with it. So it's kind of just, and then it's testing it. If you're willing to try it, you can put one out there, see how it feels, see how your audience responds. And the good news is on social, within a few days, everyone's forgotten and they're, engaging on something else. So.
That's a good angle right there. Because it's like, I like to say I play an introvert on LinkedIn, the last place I probably should be playing it, because I talk to everyone anywhere else, but there it's like, the whole line that people said before was like, whether you're written Sharpie ink or indelible ink, it's like, it's there, but as long as no one, it doesn't end up like something on any other platform that's there forever. And people are looking at everything forever. Oh, do I want to hire this guy? Did he say something controversial? Oh no, did he?
Well, and here's the thing. It depends how you look at it. I've always looked at it pretty differently, and again, it's because I am working for myself. I'm not trying to go get a job or be hired by an employer. Obviously for those people that they probably should be careful. But for me, I know that I'll always work for myself, and I'm
same.
So if that's true, then we get to do what we want. Why wouldn't you test it? And then I firmly believe that people's attention spans are getting shorter and they care less and less. I tested in my content. Honestly, I share carousels where I put something completely ridiculous in the middle of it that has nothing to do with what I'm doing, and people don't notice it. I do it in my content all the time. Today I wrote a 5-line post and nobody read the third line. It was a post that was kind of like traditional thought leadership stuff. I always make fun of that. So on line 3, I made fun of it. No one read it. They just thought I was being a thought leader today. So it's just knowing like people are in their own lives. They're really not that invested in any of us. And because of that, I think it gives you the freedom to test things and know like, oh yeah, I didn't like shit posting. I'm not going to do it again. Well, no big deal. People will move on. Even in the selfie, maybe you share a picture of yourself, tell a story. And you're like, man, I actually hated that. I'm never going to do it again. People will forget and they'll move on. Like we're all busy.
I can totally see what you're saying when you said that about throwing some thing in there. I can see how that goes down the shitpost, but because I saw a guy do a live talk one time, and he goes, here's a pie chart. He just came to the next slide. And he goes, I just thought you might want to see a pie chart, and then he just moved on. So it was great. And he had
I love stuff like that.
Irish accent too, so it's like it's right out here in Ontario. But
like you're not in corporate anymore. Like a lot of people in my audience were corporate, and they like kind of bring this mindset into it that we're using LinkedIn the same way. And listen, like your whole audience isn't going to fire you at once. Like it's like you may have 10, 20, 30 people that say, I don't like that style. Well, fuck it. Like then those 30 people can go somewhere else and you'll replace it. And the second thing is it's differentiation. Like differentiation is good. Contrarian thoughts and being somewhat controversial, as long as you truly believe it, like, then it's perfectly fine. Like I fell into the tank top thing by accident, but it was after where I did it on a live and somebody, I can't remember who it was, but somebody like criticized it, and whoever it was that criticized it, I was like, fuck it, like, fuck this. Like I'll wear tank tops, like I'm on LinkedIn. We can do what we want. We're not in corporate anymore. So I think just, leaning into the differentiation and sometimes controversial stuff, can be your favor, because you'll repel certain people that you probably don't want to work with anyway, and bring in people that you do want to work with, kind of like you do with AI. Like you're like with AI, you're basically saying, listen, if you're not in the AI game, then you're probably not the kind of person I want to work with anyway, Brian, you had a question on Copilot and why use that one versus GPT or something?
It was both, Brian. So funny enough, the day after I launched my course, GPT 4.0 came out, which was kind of funny and a good thing, because if I had built my course on GPT, I would have been in trouble. So it was because Copilot was free, but also I use Copilot basically because it's Copilot on Edge. It's the only way you can actually scrape a really targeted website or email or social media post. They're a little bit more loose with allowing that, whereas Claude, for example, is heavily censored, so you can't do any of that. Even GPT doesn't allow you to do that yet. GPT can be used on the browser Opera, but it doesn't allow you to scrape specifically from pages or posts, whereas Copilot lets you do that. So I'm a bit of like a hacker brain. I love something that gives me the most freedom possible to get creative. So right now, Copilot is that for me, and that's why I used it. So all the prompts that I have are written specifically for Copilot. So if you want to use them on GPT, basically they have to be customized and written differently, because I've written them to scrape data off like one page or one source.
Did you say Claude is censored? Like, so that's what
people love Claude right now. I don't, because it for me it's too censored. Like, and I won't get into it all, but it doesn't, it's like, for me, it's like Mac. Like people love Mac because it's easy. And like, if you don't know what you're doing, Mac's great. But if you're an actual computer nerd and you're intelligent, you use PC. Sorry, everyone. That's just my opinion. I think it's the same in AI. If you know what you're doing, you want the most customization possible, not the easiest output. Claude is probably the easiest right now to write decent posts and stories. But it's limiting in that you can't get really targeted with your answers because it censors because of who programmed it and how they programmed it.
So I think the first question asked, if it misinterpreted, in terms of the length of the video, it wasn't the size, but more so like, is it like 60 seconds or what, or 2 minutes that you see performing better?
So for me personally, I've seen either really short or really long videos perform the best. So like 40 seconds or less for a short form. So if it is the vertical style videos, like 40 seconds or less is what I've seen the best on clients or myself, even on my friends' content. And if not, then I just go super long and like really valuable. And those videos aren't the vertical style. Typically they're more like Loom style tutorial, horizontal videos.
If I'm building, say I've got an hour a day and I said, I'm going to time box this and I'm just going to sit on LinkedIn and engage like crazy. And I'm going to build this list and I go find these profiles. If I was building that list of people to engage with, would you recommend picking really big influencers, like people with a lot of reach? Would you recommend people go to their niche, like people that are in their niche? Like, how would you recommend, largely for this audience, like if you're selling services, to build your list of people to engage with?
So don't do influencers. Don't even do me. Like, I'm fun, but you don't, I wouldn't do that. It doesn't really help you. What I would do is like look at the niche you're in, and then find someone, basically find the couple biggest people in your space, whatever that is. Like I said, if that's construction, if that's cybersecurity, whatever it is, find someone that is dominating and crushing it, and then go into their comment section and basically connect with people in their comment section. So like that's what I've done from the beginning. It's finding someone that is relevant, but active people. Like, you don't really, like, if you're trying to grow an organic audience, you don't really just want to add potential clients. The reason being, they're never online. Like, most of the people that buy from you aren't going to be on LinkedIn. They're too busy with their actual business, but you do want people that are in their network connected with you. And so what I do is, yeah, go to the most active people in that niche for clients, start connecting with them, because I know that if they're all in the client's audience, they're going to start seeing my content. They're going to start commenting on it. And when their boss does log in for his 7 minutes a week or 2 minutes a day, the odds of him seeing my profile or my content or hearing about it from his employees are a lot better.
Luke, first of all, like, I know you said you don't do these often. I appreciate you hopping on, man. Like, this has been fun. Like, you've got a ton of knowledge and a different perspective, and I think that's just super helpful in our space. Like, I mean, as much as, like, even in my world and my processes and my SOPs, and then getting your perspective is really valuable. So I appreciate you taking the time. Appreciate your flexibility on the questions and taking these live. I'll do a semi pitch one more time for the course, largely because of the impact that it's had on my workflow and on my own time. And again, haven't even made it all the way through, but it is jam packed. If you're struggling with, okay, what type of content should I create? If you're struggling with the amount of time it takes you to write a post, because a lot of people that are on this call, I know you've complained to me and you're like, oh shit, Ray, it takes me an hour and a half to write one post. Like, this is an ass whip. Like this, there are so many tools and tips and practical processes in here that, like, I can't recommend it enough. Like, take the value of your time and then a few $100 and think about the math on that. We'll drop the link back in here, where people can obviously find you on LinkedIn. Where else can they find you or reach out to you, Luke?
So mostly LinkedIn right now. I do have a newsletter that is free, that I can share at the end of the call as well.
Yeah.
Not creating on Instagram or Twitter anymore. So mostly just LinkedIn. Yeah. Some YouTube later in the year, but for now I'm just dialed in on LinkedIn doing my thing.
One last question. All right. Last question. What you got?
I was just curious if you could dial in a little bit on the commenting on folks who are in your buyer audience, but are not your ideal client. Like you said, that the person who's really busy, who's going to buy from you, is probably not on LinkedIn. So I was wondering if there's any other tips you could share about how to actually build an audience that's going to be adjacent to your client so you can get visible by your eventual buyer.
Definitely. So I think all of you probably know your ICP pretty well. So it's studying that, and then it's going like, who else are they hiring, and like, are those people online, and if they're a business, what people in the business are online. So like, I know, graphic designers are always online, video people, marketers, because we need to sell stuff, salespeople, recruiters. Like, it's knowing like what people actually use LinkedIn a lot. And then in my ICP, if it's a bigger company, what people in the company are online. And then it's basically finding them and connecting with them is what I tell people to do. And then how you do that really is through influencers and leaders in the space, which might be hard to find at first. I just use the search bar and I type in keywords, and that helps me find new people basically on the platform. But that's what I would do to really, and it takes work. The problem with this is there's no shortcut to it. It really does take work. I try and add 15 new people a day, and I did that for right from the beginning when I was on LinkedIn. I added 15 active people that I enjoyed networking with. For me, it was broader because I wasn't trying to sell from day one. I guess I was lucky. I just went, I want to grow. And so for me, I just went on, I'm adding who I find entertaining. For clients, I go add, based off your space and who's active.
And I mean, just to reinforce one thing that you've said, like with the content and the way that you play LinkedIn, everybody plays the game a little bit differently, right? And it's based on what your goal is right now. Like if I have to get 2 clients, I'm gonna play the game slightly differently than if I have a full pipeline. And I've seen the difference, man. Like when we start to create content that's a little bit broader, because we're not necessarily pushing client acquisition at the time, which is where we've been lately. And if your profile is still optimized and everything, you're still going to get opportunities that trickle in. But it's just building up to that point and playing the right game at the right time for you. So if it's got to get clients, do that thing, and then work on building your audience after you've got some cash flow coming in the door. And just remember, we all play it slightly different. There's not a right way and a wrong way. It's just what's your goal right now and what's the fastest way there.
Agree. Like it's super personalized, which I think it helps when you accept and understand that. Then you don't really get caught comparing to other people and worrying about that. It's like I study other people, but I don't worry about what they're doing, if that makes sense. It's holding both in your hands, because I would argue like it is worth it if you have enough clients and you're like not in desperate need of it. It's still worth it to keep posting and maybe even to go a bit broader, to add more followers. And if you have a newsletter, get more subscribers, because you don't know like when you need those clients. It's obviously better to have more people in your niche that are following you and ready to go for when you need to sell again. So I think that's the one mistake I see people make. So they get busy and they let their foot off the gas and they stop posting. Maybe they lose their routine, and then all of a sudden they lose a couple clients. They need leads, and the algo is frustrating to them because they're pushing too hard. And so that's, again, going back to the beginning of the call to wrap it up. It's knowing like this is just part of our job as people that are making money online and trying to sell through LinkedIn. Look at it that way, and I think it bugs you less. And you just look for ways to optimize it, make it faster. And that's why AI is awesome. If you just invest in learning it, it can save you time and make all this content creation easier. You shouldn't be spending 90 minutes writing a post unless you're trying to be an influencer. Like anyone that's spending more than an hour writing a post, unless you're trying to be an influencer, you're wasting your time. You need to learn AI.